There is a sickness that walks among us, a silent plague, not of flesh, not of blood, but of mind. It is not fear that will break you. It is not weakness. It is not even evil. It is certainty. Understand this before it devours you whole. The deadliest people are not the ones who doubt. The deadliest people are the ones who believe they have nothing left to learn. You see them everywhere, puffed up with their thin knowledge, marching like hollow kings atop crumbling thrones made of borrowed opinions. Every word they speak drips with arrogance. Every decision they make bleeds ignorance into the world around them. And the worst part? They are proud of it. Certainty is a coffin for the mind, and most will lay themselves inside it willingly, hammering the nails shut with their own blind hands. You must not be among them. Look through the blood-stained pages of history. It was not evil men alone who razed cities to ash. It was fools. Fools in love with their own ignorance. Fools certain they were right. Certain their view was complete. Certain their petty understanding of the world was enough to bend reality to their will. And reality, patient, ruthless, shattered them. Certainty is the comfort of cowards. It is a drug for the intellectually weak. It is a siren song for those too fragile to wrestle with the brutal ambiguity of real life. You think the stakes are low? You think this is just about philosophy? No. This is war. Because certainty doesn't just cripple the mind. It kills the future. It is certainty that leads armies into wars they cannot win. It is certainty that sinks civilizations into the grave. It is certainty that blinds the fool, even as the fire engulfs everything they once claimed to love. And today, in an age where information floods every corner, where noise drowns signal, where everyone screams their truth into the void, certainty has become a virus, a pandemic of the spirit. Every fool now has a microphone. Every coward now has a platform. And the louder they scream, the more they reveal their emptiness. You must be something different. You must become something the world no longer understands. Become the thinker in the void. You must stand where others fall. You must walk the battlefield where certainty lies bleeding. You must endure the pain of not knowing. It will hurt. It will humiliate you. It will strip you bare. You will face moments when every fiber of your being screams for the comfort of an answer. Any answer. Even a wrong one. You will thirst for the simplicity that stupidity offers. You will crave it like a dying man craves water. But you must deny yourself. You must choose the harder path. The path of thought. The path of patience. The path of negative capability. The savage, disciplined art of holding two contradictory truths in your mind without breaking. This is not softness. This is not tolerance. This is not the passive acceptance of mediocrity. No. This is the forging fire of the mind. This is the arena where the truly powerful are born. Because the mind that can dwell in uncertainty, the mind that can think without needing to conclude, the mind that can hold the chaos of life without collapsing into the shallow grave of certainty, that mind becomes unbreakable, and the world, broken and staggering, will bow before it. Build the mind of a warrior. Think of yourself now as a blacksmith forging a blade. Certainty is the brittle steel that snaps under the first blow. Real thinking, negative capability, is the folded steel, beaten and folded 1,000 times in the fires of ambiguity and complexity. Every time you feel yourself tempted to know for sure, every time you feel yourself grasping for a simple answer to a complex reality, you are at the anvil. You can either let your mind stay weak, stay thin, stay breakable, Or you can endure the hammer blows. You can endure the heat. You can endure the long nights of uncertainty when the world offers you no applause, no validation, no comfort. And when the sun rises, you will hold a mind in your hands that could cut through any illusion, any lie, any falsehood. The world needs blades, not dull sticks waving in the wind. Blades. The kind of mind that sees through deception. The kind of mind that does not collapse under doubt. The kind of mind that questions everything, including itself. Be the blade, or be broken. The battlefield of complexity. You must understand. The battlefield is not the world out there. The battlefield is your mind. Every conversation you hear, every piece of news you digest, every opinion you entertain, they are weapons aimed at you, not out of malice, but out of carelessness. Because a careless mind is just as dangerous as a hateful one. If you let others think for you, if you let others collapse your uncertainty into their cheap, borrowed certainty, you lose. You stop living. You start marching. Marching in lines carved by other people's stupidity. That is not your fate. You are here to carve your own path. You are here to see with your own eyes. You are here to think thoughts no one else dares to think, even if it isolates you. Especially if it isolates you. Because in a world where everyone is racing to the shallowest answer, depth becomes a weapon, patience becomes a sword, and complexity becomes your shield. Refuse the easy death. Every time you rush to judgment, you kill part of yourself. Every time you latch onto a simple truth, you amputate part of your vision. Every time you abandon the hard work of thinking, you step closer to becoming one of the walking dead. The world does not need more certainty. It does not need more screaming. It does not need more blind belief. It needs warriors of the mind. Silent forces who endure the storms of ambiguity without surrender. Quiet architects who build their empires of thoughtstone by brutal stone. That is what you are here to become. Not a believer, not a preacher, not a follower. A builder, a creator, a true force, one who moves through the fog of life with open eyes, one who questions their own assumptions with a blade so sharp it leaves no wound, one who embraces complexity and stands taller because of it. You must refuse the easy death. You must refuse the siren song of certainty. You must refuse to collapse into stupidity, no matter how easy it would be. Rise above the dead. The dead will never understand you. They will mock you. They will resent you. They will call you indecisive, arrogant, detached, aloof. Let them. Their graves are already dug. The future does not belong to the certain. It belongs to the survivors of uncertainty. It belongs to the thinkers, the patient, the ruthless minds who are willing to sit longer with complexity than anyone else. When others are panicking for answers, you will still be thinking. When others are grasping for certainty, you will still be questioning. When others collapse under the weight of complexity, you will rise, step over their broken certainties, and build the new world. You are not here to be certain. You are here to be dangerous. The blade is waiting. The forge is ready. Now, step into the fire and become what the dead will never understand. Trait 1. The slave to certainty. There is no prison more devastating than the mind convinced it already knows enough. And the ones who rot inside it are not even aware they're imprisoned. They call it conviction. They call it confidence. They dress their decay up in noble words to hide their fear. But it is slavery. Slavery to certainty. Slavery to the idea that growth is no longer needed, that understanding is finished, that the mind has reached its pathetic, stagnant peak. The slave to certainty has traded their freedom for chains made of arrogance. They think they are free. They think they are powerful. But in truth, they are cattle, marching in tight circles, blind to the endless landscape just beyond the fences. They refuse to tear down. You see them everywhere. In politics, in religion, in business, in the broken shells of men and women who stopped thinking the moment they found an answer that felt good enough, who stopped searching the moment it hurt too much, who stopped growing because uncertainty made them tremble. Understand this. Certainty is the drug of the weak. It numbs their mind against the terror of having to forge their own understanding. It quiets the internal voice that whispers, "You could be wrong." It soothes the deep, gnawing fear that maybe, just maybe, they are smaller, stupider, more insignificant than they pretend to be. And in their fear, they harden themselves into stone, dead to new wisdom, dead to new strategies, dead to the world evolving around them. The man who clings to certainty is not a builder. He is not a warrior. He is not a leader. He is a fossil, buried alive by his own pride. Certainty destroys empires. Every great collapse in history, every empire that rotted from within, every golden age that turned to dust, began with the same disease: certainty. The rulers became convinced they could not lose. The generals became convinced their strategies were flawless. The philosophers became convinced their truth was the only truth. And so they stopped questioning. They stopped innovating. They stopped preparing for the next war, the next famine, the next storm. And when reality struck, they were gutted in days. The barbarians did not defeat Rome. Rome defeated itself with arrogance, laziness, and certainty. Athens, once the jewel of civilization, lost itself to the same disease. They marched into Sicily, convinced of victory, and marched into ruin. When you believe you cannot lose, you have already lost. Certainty makes you predictable. The slave to certainty believes they are safe, but they are laughably vulnerable. They are rigid. They are slow. They are predictable. And predictable creatures are easy to destroy. The world shifts, and they stay still. The battlefield changes, and they march blindly into slaughter. The rules evolve, and they obey strategies that expired a decade ago. Because they must believe the world is what they wish it to be, not what it is. And so, the flexible outlast them. The adaptive conquer them. The living bury them. Flexibility is power. Rigidity is suicide. The warrior who can think in motion, who can shift mid-battle without hesitation, who can hold contradictions in his mind without breaking, is a nightmare to fight. But the slave to certainty, they are already defeated. They just don't know it yet. How the slave is made. No one is born enslaved to certainty. It is taught. It is sold. It is programmed into you from the moment you can speak. Believe without questioning. Obey authority. Trust the experts. If you doubt, you are the problem. Society mass produces slaves to certainty because uncertain people are dangerous. They ask questions. They disrupt systems. They refuse to march quietly to the slaughterhouse. A mind that questions is a mind that cannot be controlled. And so you are conditioned to fear uncertainty, to associate it with shame, humiliation, failure. But understand, they lie. Uncertainty is not failure. It is not weakness. It is the beginning of wisdom. It is the spark that burns down lies. It is the blade that cuts through illusion It is the crucible where true power is forged, breaking the chains. If you would rise, if you would lead, if you would carve your place in history with blood and iron, you must kill the slave inside you. You must face your own certainty. You must drag it into the light. You must beat it, starve it, humiliate it, until it lets go. You must become addicted not to knowing, but to questioning, not to answers, but to sharpening the blade of thought against the anvil of reality. You must welcome the pain of uncertainty. You must seek out the terror of not knowing and stand calmly in its fire. When the world demands that you pick a side, refuse. When the mob screams for you to join their crusade, question. When the easy answer tempts you, doubt. Because every time you resist the need for certainty, you grow sharper, you grow stronger, you grow freer. You become something the system cannot control. You become something the world cannot predict. You become dangerous, and only the dangerous shape history. Closing words. The price of freedom. To kill certainty is to choose a harder life. You will lose friends. You will lose applause. You will lose the simple comforts that stupidity offers. But you will gain something they can never have. You will gain the ability to see. You will gain the ability to move. You will gain the ability to create new realities instead of rotting inside the old ones. You will live a life so sharp, so vital, so real, that the dead will look upon you with fear and envy. You will be one of the few truly alive. Burn the chains, kill the slave, rise free, and take what the dead will never claim. Trait 2. The worshipper of dead ideas. There is a special kind of decay that eats away at the unsuccessful. It is not visible to the eye. It is not heard in their words at first. It is felt in the hollow way they move, in the stagnant way they think. They are worshipers, but not of gods, not of truth, not of anything alive. They worship dead ideas, brittle, rotting doctrines inherited from corpses who died believing they were right. And they cling to these ideas with religious fervor, because thinking for themselves terrifies them, because standing naked in the unknown would obliterate what little identity they have. So instead, they wrap themselves in the hand-me-down rags of thought long expired, and they call it wisdom, inheriting rot. The worshipper of dead ideas is not born this way. They are taught to kneel, taught to believe that age equals truth, that authority equals intelligence, that tradition equals life. And so they inherit beliefs like heirlooms, not because they are true, not because they are tested, but because someone older, louder, and more broken handed them down with trembling hands and demanded obedience. They are taught to accept without understanding, to parrot without questioning, to believe without seeing. And so their minds become tombs. Tombs filled with the bones of dead convictions, dead systems, dead dreams. They walk through life like gravekeepers, tending to beliefs that should have been buried centuries ago. And they call this honor. They call this loyalty. They call this tradition. But it is cowardice. It is weakness. It is death. The cost of carrying corpses. A man carrying corpses cannot run. A mind carrying dead ideas cannot evolve. The worshipper of dead ideas is always behind the new reality, behind the new threats, behind the brutal shifts that reshape the world, because their map no longer matches the territory, because their understanding is fossilized, because they are moving forward while looking backward, marching proudly into quicksand with their arms full of the corpses they refuse to let go. When the world demands new solutions, they offer dead ones. When the world demands innovation, they parrot the slogans of the long-forgotten. When the world demands thought, they offer imitation. And so they are swept away, not by the strong, not by the cruel, but by the simple, merciless force of evolution. The dead are buried by the living. The worshippers are buried by the creators. It has always been so. Dead ideas are comfortable, but fatal. Why do they cling to dead ideas? Because dead ideas are comfortable. They require no risk, no testing, no brutal confrontation with reality. Dead ideas are static, safe, predictable. You can build your entire life around a dead idea and never be challenged until reality crushes you. Because reality is not dead. Reality is alive. It evolves. It adapts. It punishes those who do not move with it. When you worship a dead idea, you are waging war against reality itself. And reality has never lost. You can delay the reckoning. You can pretend a little longer. You can paint the walls of your mental tomb a little brighter. But the storm will come. And when it comes, it will show no mercy to those who thought their old maps could still guide them across new ground, breaking the cycle of death. If you would rise, if you would forge a life that does not crumble at the first storm, you must kill the worshiper inside you. You must drag your inherited beliefs into the light. You must question them ruthlessly. You must ask, who gave me this idea? Why did I accept it? Has it been tested against the brutal chaos of the real world? Or did I accept it because it made me feel safe? You must burn away every belief that does not serve you, not because it is old, not because it is new, but because it is true, tested, hardened, real. You must become a forge, not a graveyard. Ideas should be tested, hammered, folded, sharpened, not preserved in dust like sacred relics. The strong do not inherit their beliefs. They build them, stone by stone, blow by blow, through pain, through doubt, through relentless confrontation with the roaring chaos of reality. And through that brutal work, they carve out the only thing worth having, a mind that is alive. Closing words. Leave the dead behind. You will lose things on this path. You will lose the comfort of belonging to the herd. You will lose the easy pride of being a loyal servant to ideas you never earned. You will lose the false safety of the grave. But you will gain something they can never touch. You will gain freedom of thought. You will gain clarity. You will gain power. Not borrowed power. Not inherited power. Real power. The power to see what others cannot. The power to adapt when others freeze. The power to create when others cling desperately to the past. You were not born to be a gravekeeper. You were born to be a storm. Leave the dead to their graves. You have a war to fight, and only the living will survive. Trait 3. The seeker of applause. There is a special kind of coward who walks among us. You can see it in their eyes if you look long enough. The endless, starving hunger for approval. They move, they speak, they pretend to live, but every breath they take is borrowed from the crowd. They are not alive in themselves. They are reflections, echoes, slaves. They are the seekers of applause, and they will never rise, because they are owned. Living for applause is a slow suicide. The seeker of applause does not live to build. They do not live to carve, to conquer, to rise. They live to be seen. They live to be liked. Every thought they have is polluted by the question, will they approve? Every step they take is poisoned by the fear, what if they don't clap? And so they betray themselves. 1,000 small betrayals every day for a few crumbs of validation from people who don't even know their name. People who wouldn't shed a tear if they vanished tomorrow. Understand this. When you live for applause, you hand your soul to the mob. You become a hollow instrument played by other people's expectations. You abandon your purpose for the comfort of the herd, and the herd will lead you nowhere but the slaughterhouse. You think you are winning because they are clapping, but you are dying with every step. Applause is the drug of the weak. The seeker of applause is an addict. Approval is their heroin. Validation is their bottle. Attention is the needle they jam into their veins day after day, just to feel enough. But the high never lasts. The applause fades. The cheers die out. The crowd looks away, chasing the next spectacle. And the seeker is left alone, trembling, desperate for the next hit of approval to fill the void they refuse to confront. It is easier to be admired by strangers than respected by yourself. It is easier to echo what is popular than to forge what is true. And the weak, always the weak, choose easy over real. Every time. The crowd is a liar. The seeker of applause does not understand a simple truth. The crowd is a liar. The crowd cheers not for what is true, not for what is right, not for what is eternal. The crowd cheers for what is easy, for what is familiar, for what demands nothing of them. They will praise your weakness if it entertains them. They will praise your lies if it comforts them. They will praise your death if it amuses them. Do you think the crowd cares about your destiny? Do you think they will mourn you when you fall? Do you think they will save you when the storms come? No. They will move on to the next puppet, the next clown, the next fool willing to dance for scraps of approval. The crowd does not love you. The crowd does not know you. The crowd does not care if you rot. And yet, the seeker of applause would rather die pleasing them than live disappointing them. A coward's death. Every time. The price of refusing the crowd. To rise, you must kill the seeker inside you. You must make peace with being hated. You must make peace with being misunderstood. You must make peace with walking alone through howling storms of judgment, mockery, and betrayal. Because the price of greatness is the hatred of the mediocre. The price of authenticity is the wrath of the comfortable. If you seek applause, you are their slave. If you seek truth, you are their enemy. You cannot serve both, and you must choose. Every day, every moment. Will you sell yourself for claps? Or will you walk the path so few have the strength to endure? Will you be a reflection of their expectations? Or a monument to your own brutal will? Closing words. Kill the seeker. Walk alone. You were not born to dance for crumbs. You were not born to beg for applause. You were not born to be liked. You were born to carve reality, to forge existence under the hammer of your own discipline, to walk paths no crowd would ever dare to tread. The applause you should seek is the silence of enemies crushed under the weight of your work. The validation you should crave is the respect you earn from yourself when no one is watching. The crowd will never understand you, and that is exactly how it should be. You are not here to entertain them. You are not here to comfort them. You are here to surpass them and leave them staring up at the legacy they were too afraid to build for themselves. Kill the seeker, walk alone, and claim the crown the cowards never had the courage to reach for. Trait 4. The collapser under complexity. Most will never make it. Not because they are evil, not because they are weak in body, but because they are cowards of the mind, fragile souls who crumble the moment life refuses to be simple. They are the collapsers under complexity, and they are everywhere. They demand the world be easy. They demand that truth be clean, sharp, binary, black or white, good or evil, hero or villain. And when reality, brutal, layered, merciless reality, refuses to bow to their infantile expectations, they shatter. Complexity reveals the weak. The collapser. Under complexity is easy to spot. They are the ones who must always be right. The ones who must always have a villain to blame. The ones who tremble and rage when life dares to be messy. Give them a simple story, and they will worship you. Tell them the world is complicated, that people are layered, that no solution comes without cost, and they will curse your name because they cannot bear ambiguity. They cannot bear contradiction. They cannot bear the storm of real life raging outside their paper-thin walls of certainty. And so when faced with the complexity of existence, they fold, they quit, they rot, they die, not in body, but in spirit. Complexity is the forge of mastery. Understand this. Complexity is not the enemy. Complexity is the forge. It is the raw, savage reality from which true mastery is hammered and tempered. Those who rise do not demand that life be simple. They do not collapse when faced with the paradoxes, the unknowns, the impossibilities. They study the chaos. They navigate the ambiguity. They make decisions with incomplete information. They move through the fog of uncertainty like predators in a blizzard, focused, patient, unstoppable. Life is not simple. Victory is not simple. Survival is not simple. And those who cannot bear the storm are ripped apart by it. Why the collapser fails. The collapser under complexity fails for one brutal reason. They believe comfort is more important than truth. They seek stories that feel good, not stories that are real. They seek answers that reassure them, not answers that cost blood and sweat and transformation to earn. And so when reality does not fit their little narrative, they cry out in outrage. They blame the system. They blame the leaders. They blame the gods. Anything to avoid facing the raw, humbling truth. They were too weak to handle reality on its own terms. They wanted life to be simple. Life demanded they be strong, and they failed the test. How to break the collapse instinct. If you would rise above them, if you would carve a legacy that does not crack under pressure, you must destroy the collapser within you. You must rewire your mind to love complexity, not to fear it, not to resent it, to crave it. When faced with contradictions, you must think harder. When faced with paradoxes, you must dig deeper. When faced with uncertainty, you must become calm, colder, sharper, more focused than ever before. Your mind must become a blade forged in ambiguity, flexible, adaptive, lethal. You must become the one who can hold chaos in one hand and order in the other, and walk forward when everyone else is frozen in fear. Complexity is not your enemy. Complexity is your battlefield. Closing words. Rise above the collapse. The masses will always collapse under complexity. They will always run to the loudest voice, offering the simplest lie. They will always kneel before anyone who promises them clarity without cost. And they will always drown. Let them. You were not born for comfort. You were not born for simplicity. You were not born for the shallow graves that await those who demand the world be easy. You were born for the storm. You were born to dominate complexity, to see deeper, to move faster, to endure longer than anyone else trapped in their own need for simplicity. when the world burns, when the lines blur, when the old maps disintegrate under the heat of new realities, you will not collapse. You will not panic. You will not die screaming for answers that never come. You will walk forward, through the ruins of those who thought life would be simple, through the bones of those who thought survival was easy, through the smoke of dreams that were too fragile to endure the truth. You will walk forward, because you never demanded the world be easy. You demanded only one thing: the strength to conquer it. Trait 5. The builder of their own cage. There is a tragedy greater than defeat, greater than failure, greater even than death. It is the slow, silent tragedy of the man who builds his own cage and then dares to call himself a victim. This is the final form of the unsuccessful. Not a warrior beaten by a greater enemy, not a rebel crushed by overwhelming odds. No. The builder of their own cage dies by their own hand. They forge the very chains that strangle them, and they will never admit it. Because to admit it would mean facing the one enemy they never had the courage to fight: themselves. Every choice matters. The cage is not built in one day. It is not forged in a single grand act of cowardice. It is built one decision at a time, one moment of weakness, one surrender to comfort, one refusal to think, to act, to face the harshness of reality, brick by brick. Every time they choose the easy path over the right one, the walls grow higher. Every time they betray their own potential to please others, the chains grow tighter. Every time they lie to themselves about what they want, who they are, what they are capable of, the door to the cage slams closer. They build their own prison. And when they are finally trapped inside, gasping for air, blaming the world for their misery, it is too late. The architect of their doom stares back at them from the mirror. Comfort is the mortar. The material of the cage is not stone. It is not iron. It is comfort. Comfort is the mortar that seals every brick of the prison. Comfort is the slow, sweet poison that paralyzes the spirit. The builder of their own cage does not face sudden destruction. They face slow erosion, tiny compromises, tiny surrenders, until the fire inside them, the fire they were born with, is reduced to a cold pile of ashes, buried under layers of fear, excuses, and wasted days. They will tell themselves they are being smart. They will tell themselves they are being realistic. They will tell themselves they are waiting for the right time. And the cage will grow stronger with every lie. Blame is the lock. Once the cage is built, the builder locks it shut, not with chains forged by the world, but with the simplest, deadliest weapon of all: blame. They blame their parents. They blame society. They blame the government. They blame fate, luck, God, the rich, the stars, anything, to avoid facing the truth. They chose this. They built this. They surrendered, brick by brick, day by day, year by year. They buried themselves alive in their own weakness, and now they curse the world for not saving them. But there is no salvation for those who will not first destroy their own cage. Breaking the cage, a savage rebirth. If you would rise, if you would escape the slow death that claims most, you must destroy the builder inside you. And it will not be clean. It will not be graceful. It will not be painless. It will be savage. It will be bloody. It will feel like dying. Because it is. It is the death of the weak version of you. It is the death of every excuse you've ever clung to. It is the death of every comforting lie you have ever told yourself to justify your failures. You must tear the cage apart with your own hands. You must smash every brick of comfort you once worshipped. You must rip the locks of blame from the door and throw them into the fire. And you must walk out of that prison into the savage, brutal, magnificent chaos of life. Naked, wounded, free. Only then can you begin to truly live. Closing words. Choose your fate. Understand this final truth. No one is coming to save you. No hero. No system. No miracle. The only rescue that exists is the one you create with your own blood, your own sweat, your own relentless will. You can be the builder of your own cage, or you can be the destroyer of your own prison. But you cannot be both. Every day you choose. Every decision matters. Every thought either lays a new brick or tears one away. The world will not mourn if you choose wrong. The world will not weep if you rot behind walls you built yourself. But if you choose right, if you choose savagely, if you tear down the prison and step into the storm, you will become something the caged can never understand. You will become free. And there is no force more terrifying, more beautiful, or more unstoppable than a human being who has broken their own chains. Choose, rise, or rot. The decision is, and always was, yours.